Welcome back. Just picking up right where I left off last episode. Picking the engine out of this thing is the large crack I found in the bottom. Got the load leveler already hooked up to it. Picking from the two front and the two rear are the bolts for the intake manifold. But since my engine hoist is a bit of a bear to move over rough terrain, and I have to get the engine into the shop, I'm just going to chain the engine hoist to the bucket of this thing and use it to move the engine hoist. I did it to move an engine the other day, and it worked far better than it should have, really. But let's get started. Check the fluids. And there's oil at the top. Level cock, so enough oil in it. And I forgot I left the boom up. I can't actually see down in there from that angle, but yep, there's coolant in it. Neutral, bit of throttle, gas on, bit of choke, and helps to turn the ignition on. Stop spinning. Battery charging. Has oil pressure. Chained in, rock shaft for the grapple, and about there looks like a good starting place. The pub's gotten warm, so lifting things that I know is off the menu. Alright, H is in position. Definitely first try, didn't have to rearrange it a couple of times. But order of operations here is going to be, or there's two connections really that we need to worry about at this point in time. There's a ring of bolts around the rear of the flywheel housing, and 2 connections each for the 2 front motor mounts. And then it should be pretty much just ready to pick. And there's also a spring for the clutch return. Yeah, for the clutch, I believe. Yep, positioned it perfectly. There's tension on that. There are 8 bolts that hold the transmission to the engine. 3 easily accessed from each side, 2 from the top. And also on the driver's side here, this spring that I was mistaken. It does not run the clutch, it runs its return on the brake. That can just stay hooked here. Now I need to find something to go under the transmission and prop it up. And I purposely stuck this thing over here the other day. It looks about perfect. Well, I was a stick of 2x or so off in my micrometer. That should be at about unhooked all the way around the back. Now just the 2 front motor mounts and it's ready to block. That's just these 2 bolts. This one, for whatever reason, decided to come out with to just spin off. Lock washer's broken. I bet that's why I didn't turn the big stud underneath it. Tap. And there it is. And that is the engine free. I'll set the camera up in the tripod and we'll see how it goes. That's the hole that it was in. And big iron monster itself. Now, before hanging it on the engine stand, have to pull off this flywheel extension, and might as well hit the flywheel and clutch as well. So I'll grab tools and get started on that. Okay, hopefully the camera is actually out of the wind over here, but not meant to be seen. Now, what do I do with these things? Right. They are 5/8. Of course, now that I can't move the camera out of the wind stops. Oh, there we are. Can't hold this without pulling the bottom plate. It's almost already pulled, but still. Yeah, all I had to do was loosen that one to get the plate to swing out of the way. That's the plate off. Now for clutch. Actually, from here it doesn't look in miserable shape. Alright, I've got 1 volt out of each of the 3 flanges pulled. So now, just a game of going around, loosening the remaining ones bit by bit. Clutch, and yeah, that's pretty worn. A bad wear on the flywheel. Shockingly not terrible. Oh, that's bad. That shouldn't spin in there. That's supposed to be the pilot bushing. Clicks back and forth, and I think that's the flywheel. Definitely be making a new one of those. Just looking at the heat pattern on this, they were pretty safe to say that they were running it hard in the clutch. So I'm guessing at the end of this truck's lifespan, it was kind of a run it up till it dies completely. Good, block doesn't look shattered back here. That is exactly what you want to see on the inside of a cover. Yeah, it's just so rusty up there in that compartment with the drive gear. Yeah. That's got nice water in it. Alright, I've gotten a chance to attack the block on this thing with a wire wheel, because of course I know it's cracked in the inside of the water jackets, but with the exception of this line, which I legitimately cannot tell if that's just a casting mark or if that's an actual crack. I think it's a casting mark, but I can't see anything else that even slightly resembles a crack. On either side, I got both of these faces. You can see nothing through there where they would want to crack. Yeah, that looks like just a bit of slag. So, the assumption at this point is that it is only cracked in this one place. Which, honestly, if it is, that would make me very happy. Because I'm pretty certain that can be repaired. I'm going to start by popping off the crank pulley and tripping down. That's a good step. 7/8 nut, or bolt. And of course I missed my opportunity while the engine was locked up to be able to really cinch on it. Sure, it doesn't help that this is what I was cranking on when I tried to pop it free. Next up, the timing cover, although, spoiler, I've already had this off while it was in the truck, so won't be any enormous surprise hiding under there. Still see the remnants of the original red paint. Now on to the water pumps. Remember if they're now, the water pumps on these flatheads are kind of a bit tricky. So it looks like they've just got 3 bolts that hold in place, but there's a 4th one inside the water inlet. So that was shorter winded than I expected. This side on this engine also has a heater outlet hose, which I did loosen before I pulled it off the engine. Next up is going to be crankshaft. go. Other than a couple places where the bearing material is lifting out, that main doesn't actually look too bad. Same story here. There's some scoring on it, but in that place where the bearing is lifting, but not bad. Same story on the rear. A little bit of scoring, a little bit of lifted material, but nothing terrible at all. No lifting material on this one. It looks remarkably good. Honestly, other than a little bit of scoring and some hot spots, none of these mains look bad in the slightest. I'm going to loosely put these back in place so they don't get lost. It's pretty easy to see the extent of the crack now. Starts in there, goes up here, traces along the top. Doesn't actually go into the structure of this brace for the main. It's along here. Main crack stops there. Another one starts there, runs to there, starts there, runs to there. Stops the main one, stops there, then the other one there, and that one there. So, still can't see anything else that looks like a crack, surprisingly. But next up, valves and pan. So, got the disassembly finished. Everything's all torn apart. I ran out of camera battery while I was pulling the valves out before I could get a close-up of how to do it, but it's flathead valves. You'll see that everywhere on YouTube. But drag the block into the machine shop, and so long as that's the only crack in it, they can repair it. Or they are willing to try to repair it. Let's put it that way. No guarantees that it is actually fully repairable or that it won't just balloon out into an unfixable issue when they start welding on it, but that would be lots of work welding that crack up. Then you'd have to come through and reline bore the main journals, just because the heat of that, because it's so close to this crossbar, or through that crossbar, would warp them. Probably also have to redeck the oil pan surface. And again, they are willing to try, but their loose guesstimate of cost would be in the $1,000 range, which realistically, if there's nothing else wrong with this block, that's a pretty darn good price. But then it also needs to be bored. It needs a new oil pump. It needs all new bearings. You know, at some point that starts stacking up, because it needs all of the things that to rebuild it after a pretty big price tag to hopefully get it even workable. And flatheads in this area, that same 500 to 1,000 range is about what cores are going for. So, shelving this one for now. Not getting rid of it, because it is, hopefully, if it's just that crack in there, it's a very good block. I haven't been able to find any others in it anywhere. And given how easily it broke free, that's a great sign. This could very easily be a very good block with a little bit of work. So, probably gonna shelve this one for now. Got all the parts for it there. I'll get it all buttoned up, ready to sit for a while. And I'll weasel it away in the barn. Because I do, indeed, already have a solution for this problem. It is Not this engine. It is a replacement engine. And while it isn't exactly right for either for the time period this truck is, it's a little bit of an older engine. And it's not exactly the same, but it is similar. And it isn't wildly incorrect for this truck. In fact, the engine came out of a very, very similar truck to this. So, I'm going to get this button back together. And I think I'll leave the video there. Thanks for watching.